Capcom was kind enough to let me play Resident Evil Requiem on PS5 Pro just a bit ahead of Gamescom, and while it was the exact same hands-off demo you heard about during SGF, I'm happy to include an update for you this time around. That update being that yes, it is just as scary as you'd like any Resident Evil game to be. Unlike the hands-off demo or trailer that we were treated to for Requiem, this demo does not give you any setup whatsoever. You wake up and are instantly transported into a room where Grace is hanging upside down. Your main objective is to escape the care center where Grace is being held. As I described last time, Grace accomplishes this by knocking over the glass canister that is either injecting or taking something out of her. She pulls up the broken glass jar, cuts her straps, and begins to untie herself. That's before she gets to untying her feet, where she for some reason decides to knock the whole hospital bed over, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of being sneaky. Now, once you become free, you begin exploring your surroundings and looking for components to facilitate your escape. In this instance, you need a fuse, but to get the fuse, you need to find a screwdriver, and to get the screwdriver, you need to go into the blood-soaked back room. And guess where the big scary thing stalking you likes to hang out and have its lunch of decaying corpses? That's right, it's right there. So if you had to ask me to describe this cat and mouse game overall, I'd say it's one of general unease. There's this constant nervousness you feel as you're going between rooms, and that's not always because of gore or violence. It's simply because this whole place looks unsettling. That room you wake up in doesn't feel like a modern hospital room, but it doesn't feel like something out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest either. It feels like a modern, well-cleaned medical facility that was transported straight out of a 1960s mansion, and they use that to their advantage. When you first go into the hallway, you'll be able to turn on a light and get a little bit of a scare when the horse is revealed, or you can find the key at the end of this weird hallway, or the cherub room, where you'll find one of the items you'll need to progress. But these are mostly well lit with plenty of light to see what you're doing. But because of the art aesthetic, you're never truly at ease. So when these quote unquote safe areas are disrupted by the monster, it just feels even more jarring, at least the first time it happens. Things quickly go from clean and controlled to chaotic as you frantically run away with arms flailing and try to hide so you can get to the next puzzle moment you need to fix. And that cat and mouse mechanic works great, but you are eventually pushed back into the back office where a grisly scene unfolds.
He's dead. Infected.
The monster eats the guard at Grizzly. Anyway, after that's happened, you still need to return to the spot to get the screwdriver. And how do you get the screwdriver on top of the counter? You need to move the cart, and that brings me to the next win for Requiem, the sound design. Requiem does a lot of work in the sound department that, in my opinion, really set it apart from other Resident Evil games. The clunking of footsteps are heavy and panic-inducing. Even better, the flick of the Zippo lighter is such a wonderfully distinct noise that I don't recall hearing before in Resident Evil, and it really makes you question how much noise you're making just to get a little bit more light in a room. I really hope they continue building upon the idea of sound and how it plays into everything, because it stands out for me as a key component. Anyway, getting back to the screwdriver, Grace needs to move this workbench or shelf with a bunch of stuff in it, and as you do, paint buckets fall off, making noise, the wheels squeak, and something else falls off, and then the big bad starts taking interest in what you're doing, meaning you'd better get it together. Get this screwdriver and get out of there before it gets crazy. There's so much working to Requiem's credit here. The sound design of the items falling down, the monster lurking just outside, the blood-soaked room you didn't really want to be in. The tension kind of crescendos here in an epic moment that really gave me a taste of what I expect from the rest of Requiem when the full game is playable. So you get the screwdriver, a chase happens down the hallway towards the fuse box you've been trying to open. You get the fuse, slam it into the fuse box, and escape with moments to spare. It's really great. I think it does a good job of standing out on its own from other Resident Evil experiences. I think about going into the creepy mansion of Resident Evil 8 or the gross backwater areas of Resident Evil 7, and Requiem definitely stands out as uniquely scary. It's not terrifying, but there's always this underlying worry or fear that you'll be discovered or take a wrong turn, and I don't think I've seen something like that for a long time. It's Resident Evil, of course, but with a few new twists thrown in that I really think fans are going to appreciate.
What the hell was that thing?
Now, how does all of that play out in third person? Well, now I can tell you about it because this was also the first time we got to try a first person and third person point of view playthrough. Now, I know this is going to be controversial, but I think both of these work great. There's something about seeing Grace in the frame that I feel actually added to the tension of the moment. You see her there with a monster breathing down her neck, and you want to figure out how to get her out of that situation. However, in first person, that reaction, at least in my weird brain, is transferred to my perspective. How am I going to get out of that situation? I may be weird on this front, and I'm sure I'd adjust to the idea of trying to get her out of trouble versus myself, but the point I'm trying to make is that both work for me, and they seem to work really well. If you look at how each of these scenes played out, and we're trying to put them side to side here, in one, Grace is hiding under the table with an expression of fear on her face that she can be discovered.
Don't come any closer!
I really like how it played out, the third person version, because you get to see more of what Grace is struggling with, and first person because you feel like you're more immersed in the action. So with all that said, Resident Evil Requiem didn't initially feel all that scary when I was watching as a passive participant in the audience at SGF, but getting to try it hands-on is a whole new story, and I get what they're going for. I can't wait to see what the team cooks up at launch, and before I go, I've got to ask you, which do you prefer, third person or first person? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you checking out this video. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. A huge thank you to all the members for supporting. I do greatly appreciate you. I gotta get out of here. It's Gamescom week. We have a bunch of videos coming. Huge shout out to Josh, the editor, for tackling this one. Check out my other preview edited by Josh, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.